they're all like the teams that have spent the most money so far. Well, the most money in this window. So you can have a quick read of that if you want. We'll go through all of them. You know, all the players that have come in and come out. You know, just so we can make conversation out of it. We'll jump straight to Chelsea first. Alright, I've got something up now that will tell me what's what. So, Arsenal, they bought in David Raya on a loan. Declan Rice for 105 million. Kai Havertz for 65 million. And Urian Timber 38 million, which made them spend about 204 million in that region. Then when it came to outgoings, Balogun to Monaco was 34 mil. Kieran Tierney to Real Sociedad loan. Matt Turner to Nottingham Forest 10 million. Granit Xhaka to Bayer Leverkusen 21 million. Pablo Mari Monza for an undisclosed fee. And Austin Trusty to Sheffield United for 5 million. And then just a bunch of loanies and all sorts. Aston Villa. Pau Torres for 33 million. Moussa Diaby, which was like 45 million, 40 million in that region, around there. So yeah, so about 45 million, I believe. And then Rico Richards from West Brom for free. Yuri Tielemans from Leicester for free. Nicolo Zaniolo from Galatasaray on a loan. And Clement Longley from Barcelona on a loan. And then Cameron Archer to Sheffield United for 18 mil. Aaron Ramsey to Burnley. Ashley Young to Everton on a free. Not too much. Hi Ali Lolo, welcome to the stream. Just talking about Premier League clubs and their spending. I've covered Arsenal and Aston Villa so far. If you want to know any players that have come in for different teams, then I will get on to them. On to Bournemouth though. Alex Scott from Bristol City for 25 million. Max Aarons from Norwich for 7 million. Romain Favier from Lyon for 12.8 million. Justin Kluivert from Roma for 9.5 million. Hama Traore from Sassuolo for 20 million. Kerkez from AZ Alkmaar for 15.5 million. Tyler Adams from Leeds for 24 million. Radu from Inter Milan on loan, and Luis Sinestra from Leeds on loan. Now then we'll go to Brentford. Brentford. Nathan Collins from Wolves for 23 mil. Romeo Beckham from Inter Miami, undisclosed fee. Beerley from Rockdale for an undisclosed fee. Mark Flecken from Freiburg for 11 million. Ju-Soo Kim from Seongnam for an undisclosed fee. Kevin Shard from Freiburg also for 20 million. And then Neil Maupay on loan. They let Arsenal get David Raya on a loan. And yeah, that's basically it, apart from a bunch of people being released and going on a loan. Now then, we've got some interesting ones there. As we jump onto Brighton. Baleba from Lille, 23 mil. Verbruggen from Anderlecht for 16 mil. Dahoud from Borussia Dortmund on a free. Joao Pedro from Watford, undisclosed fee. Julio from Fiorentina, 14.5 mil. Yeah, Chelsea have spent a lot. I'll jump onto them because they're definitely the most interesting to have a look at. Chelsea. Here we go. Axel DSCC from Monaco, 38.5 mil. Jackson from Villarreal, 30 mil. And Nkunku from Leipzig, 52 mil. Kendry Paez from Independiente del Val, 17 mil. Robert Sanchez from Brighton, 25 mil. Moises Caicedo, 115 million. Leslie Ugochukwu from Rennes for 23.5 mil. Couple of different people for undisclosed fee. Southampton, Romeo Lavia to Chelsea, 58.5 and 58 mil. David Washington from Santos, 17 mil. Cole Palmer from City for 42.5 mil. And then Djord Petrovic from New England Revolution, 14 mil. Yeah, Chelsea, they've bought a couple of players, haven't they? They've bought a bunch of players this summer. So much has been spent, and I'm really curious to see how much of it's going to work out, And we'll go to Chelsea's outgoings as well now, because they've got a ton of them as well. Okay, here we go. Kai Havertz to Arsenal, 65 million. Kovacic to City, 30 million. Loftus-Cheek to AC Milan, 17 million. Mason Mount to United, 60 million. Pulisic to Milan, 18.8 million. Lewis Hall to Newcastle on loan, but Newcastle do have a buy option. Lukaku to Roma on loan. Hudson-Odoi to Forest for 5 mil. Ethan Ampadu to Leeds, undisclosed fee. Kalidou Koulibaly, think about 18 million. Edouard Mendy to Al Ali for I think 15 million. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to Marseille for free. Azpilicueta to Atletico Madrid for free. N'Golo Kante to Al Ittihad for free. David Datro Fofana to Union Berlin, loan. So much. Ariza Balaga, Real Madrid for loan. Andre Santos to Nottingham Forest, a loan. Hakim Ziyech to Galatasaray, loan. So much, and that I only even covered them all there. It's just the list goes on and on. Yeah, Chelsea, they bought in a lot of players, didn't they? Subson, McKennie, Way and Big Steve. And they spent a lot of money on Cole Palmer for a player that's barely played any Premier League football or any football in the first team for us full stop. I think 42 million for him is great, if you want the truth. Welcome to the stream there, Subson, McKennie, Way and Big Steve. Ali Lolo as well. Kyle, welcome back. Ask any questions on Premier League windows. I'm just going through every team's window so far, and then we'll talk about who we think had the best window. I'll go back up real quick. We covered Burnley. No, we covered... Okay, on to Brighton. We covered the first couple, but they got James Milner on a free from Liverpool. Ansu Fati also from Barcelona to Brighton on loan, which is probably like the biggest one. And then, Baleba, Verbruggen, Dahoud, Julio, Pedro, and Julio again, which I have covered. But that outgoings is so interesting, 35 million for McAllister, Robert Sanchez to Chelsea, for 25 mil, 115 million for Moises Caicedo, and then a ton of loans. But those three alone, that is just so much money. That put together, that's 175 million, and they only spent they only spent about 50 million quid, guys, not including loan fees and all that. They spent such little money. Brighton. I know it says 84 there, but that's including, everything. But, just on transfer fees, so much money that they could have spent, but they didn't. Burnley, they obviously bought in James Trafford. James Trafford, though, was actually like the only person here that has a price on him of £19 million. Yeah, that's literally the only one. They bought in someone called Logan Pye from Manchester United. Jacob Brune from Hoffenheim on loan. Yeah, not too many names there. Aaron Ramsey from Aston Villa for, I think it was 18 million, something like that, I think. And then Wout van Gaal joined Hoffenheim on loan. Ashley Barnes joined Norwich. Bunch of these were on a free. Yeah, most of them on a free, guys. Covered Chelsea, didn't we? Jump to Palace. If you got any questions about the transfer windows of these clubs, do say so, and and I'll see what I can find. Palace, they only bought in 4 players this summer. They bought in Jefferson Lerma from Bournemouth on a free. Mateus Franca from Flamengo for 26 million. Dean Henderson from United for 20 million. And Rob Holding for about 4 million from Arsenal, I think it was. And then, they lost a few people, including Jack Butland. To Rangers for free. Galatasaray got Wilfried Zaha. No one else really to cover. Everton bought Ashley Young from Villa on a free. Danjuma on a loan. And Shuramiti from Sporting Lisbon, 15 million. Jack Harrison on a loan from Leeds. And Better from Udinese for 25 mil. Iwobi to Fulham, 26 million, and that was really their biggest outgoing. Mason Holgate, Southampton loan. Tom Davies to Sheffield United on a free. Neil Maupay to Brentford on a loan, which we mentioned earlier. Fulham bought in Iwobi. Ballo Torre from AC Milan on a loan. Raul Jimenez from Wolves for 5.5 mil. Bassi from Ajax for 18 mil. Timothy Castagne from Leicester, 15 mil. And then on the outgoings, Mitrovic to Al Hilal for 45 million. They almost lost Willian, you got to remember, because they signed him on a deal, but then Saudi clubs were after him, and then Fulham and then he was just like, you know what, I actually want to get a piece of that, you know. Now we'll jump to Liverpool, who've only bought in midfielders this summer. They include Ryan Gravenberch for 34 million, Alexis McAllister for 35 million, Dominic Szoboszlai for 60 million, and Endo from Stuttgart for 60 million. I just think Liverpool have had a pretty good window. They've done what they needed to in that midfield. They didn't need to sign attackers because they were stacked from last season. You know, they've got Cody Gakpo, Diogo Jota, Mohamed Salah, Darwin Nunez. So Diogo Jota, Cody Gakpo, Darwin Nunez, Luis Diaz, Mohamed Salah. You know, they got those 5 just off the top of my head. You know, so I think Liverpool have done well because they boosted their midfielder in their midfield. I think they needed a centre back as well, or at least a right back to challenge Trent. I agree, Ali Lola. They're definitely up there for not a great transfer window, Everton. And they needed to have a good transfer window because, well, you know, they're flirting with relegation so much, and it's only going to be so long before they can't do it anymore. So yeah, I have to agree with you there. So far, anyway, you know, could change. But yeah, Everton definitely not a great window. But Liverpool have also lost a lot of midfielders, important to remember. Henderson to Al Atifaki. What was it, like 12 million? Fabinho to Al Ittihad, 40 million. Milner to Brighton for free. Keita to Bremen for free. Firmino to Al Ahly for free. Oxlade-Chamberlain to Besiktas for free. Fabio Carvalho on loan to Leipzig. So no doubt they've lost some big names, haven't they? You know, Trent is better in midfield. I agree. Depending if I think Trent would really suit, because I think Trent does really well on that right hand side, but I don't think he's not fit to be a right winger, and he's not fit to be a right back. So I think that he'd do bits as a right mid, but that would mean Liverpool got to start playing something similar to a 4-4-2. They don't have to do it like that, but it's definitely something that they'd have to consider unless they play in a different way, and you know, they just change how they play completely. So, you know, I do think that Trent, he just, as a right back, one of your bigger attributes has got to be that you're great at defending, or that you're solid at defending. Trent is just poor defensively, you know, he's not the best defensively, and you know, So, and it's not necessarily. It is a criticism to him. It is a criticism to him because he's a right back, but he just doesn't have the defending that he needs to have to play for a club like Liverpool. He's got the talent to play for a club like Liverpool, but not as a right back. Stick him on the right mid, and he'd do bits. And I thoroughly believe that, which is why I do believe Liverpool needed to bring in a right back this summer, which they didn't, which means Trent doesn't really have competition on that. The thing is, like, Trent doesn't have competition at right back. Even last season, they had James Milner or Trent. Like, no offense, James Milner is late 30s. Sure, he's okay, James Milner, but he's past it. You know, he's not Liverpool levels, which is why he's not at the club anymore. He can't do it anymore. You know, he just doesn't have it. He's great at free kicks and crossing. You're absolutely spot on, Ali Lila. I rate Trent. I really do rate him, but only if you're putting him in the right area of the pitch. If you're not putting him as a player that is meant to go forward solely, then like, what do you think's going to happen? He's going to struggle because Trent should be going forward. Maybe he was a good right back at academy level, but he clearly needs to be further up the pitch to be effective. But if he can't be effective at the bottom of the pitch as a right back, then you're not a great right back. You're just a good attacking player. But I'll jump back onto the teams now. Luton Town, they signed Mengi from Man United, Ross Barkley on a free, Ryan Gills from Wolves for an undisclosed fee, Chong from Birmingham 4 million, Kabore from City on a loan, Kaminsky from Blackburn 2.5 mil, Sambi the Conga on a loan. So, and Tim Krul from Norwich. Nakamba from Aston Villa for an undisclosed fee. So that you know, by the way, guys, Luton only, because Luton aren't on the screen. Luton aren't on the screen, as you can say. I could only get 16 teams in. They only spent 20 million. Oh yeah, I'm not saying he can't attack as a right back, okay? You know, I'm not saying don't play as right back, but I think when your strongest attribute is right back, is attacking, you like the right hand side, but you're put at right back when you're not solid defensively, he needs to go further up. It's definitely interesting, Ali, though, because I won't lie to you, City will be up their best window, because City I think some people have been questioning City whether this window has made them better or worse. I'll give you my opinion on that when we cover City, which will be in a minute. It'll be any minute now. But yeah, not much to say about Luton, to be honest. Here we go, City. Jeremy Doku, 55.5 million. Vardiol for 77.5 million. Kovacic for 30 million. And Nunez for 53 million. We actually ended up spending the third most in the Premier League. I think the signings we made are great. Okay, I remember watching the Sky Sports panel on this, and I did think that someone got it almost correct. You know, City lost Laporte in this summer, and he was a player who didn't play all that much last season. You know, hence why he wanted to leave. He just didn't have the game time, which is fair enough. You know, a player of Laporte's quality deserves play time. I'm surprised a big team in Europe didn't go in for him. But yeah, he didn't play that much last season, Laporte. So who do we bring in? We bring in Josko Vardiol, who's one of the best young centre backs in the world. You know, and at City he'll probably only get better. Jeremy Doku, obviously the Riyad Mahrez replacement. Riyad Mahrez also, he did play quite a bit last season, Riyad Mahrez, but he wasn't as crucial as someone like Kevin De Bruyne was. You know, he wasn't in the team as much as them. Bernardo Silva ended up taking that right wing more so than he did. So, you know, Jeremy Doku's come in, young winger, exciting talent, to replace Mahrez, who didn't play that much. Mateus Nunes brought in for a bit more cover in that midfield because obviously we just lost Kev. Nunes hasn't necessarily been brought in to replace anyone, to be honest, but he's going to provide a lot for City. I think Nunes is mainly here to provide us with a bit more cover. Then Mateo Kovacic, who was brought in to basically replace Gundogan, I think. He is our Gundogan replacement. He's been a City fans definitely been impressed with him so far, I think. I don't see why not. I think Mateo Kovacic has been quite good for us so far. Been doing quite well. I think he's been making chances. It's a shame he doesn't have a goal contribution yet, to be honest. But it is what it is in that regard. Now then, we'll jump into our outgoings, because City did have a lot of people leaving this summer. Mahrez to Al Ahly for 30 million. Laporte to Al Nassr for 23 million. Cancelo to Barca on a loan. Shea Charles to Southampton, 15 million. Trafford to Burnley, 19 million. Morgan Rogers to Middlesbrough, an undisclosed fee. Slicker to Ipswich, undisclosed fee. Barcelona got Gundogan on a free, of course. Yankuto to Girona on a loan. Delap to Hull on a loan. Issa Kabore, as we mentioned, to Luton on loan. Wilson Esbern to Rams on loan. Carlos Borges to Ajax on loan. No, not on loan, for 16 million. Carlos Borges was a player that had quite a few fans in the academy. I know a lot of people liked Carlos Borges, and we're sad to see him go. Perone to Las Palmas on loan. Cole Palmer to Chelsea, 42.5 million. Tommy Doyle to Wolves on loan. Taylor Harwood Bellis, Southampton loan. James McAtee, Sheffield United on loan. So City, we lost a lot of people, but we brought in a lot of people as well. Which we lost a lot of people, and we brought in important people too. So you know. Yeah, that is what's great about Bernardo Silva. I wouldn't say he can necessarily play CDM like it's his natural position, like how Okay Gundogan could dip in there. But I do think Bernardo Silva's got the ability to go in deeper and just provide that extra bit of cover, if you get what I mean. You know, that's the kind of calibre Bernardo is. You know, he's just great. Yeah, he's great at cam and he's great at right wing also. Bernardo Silva's just great in those areas. Now then, I'll jump onto Manchester United, but before I jump onto Man United, I need to go get a drink. Again, it's really hot in this room, so I'll be back in a minute with my drink. Hello, I'm back. Thank you for being patient. Just got my drink now. Yeah, I think you're not too far off of that, Ali. Oh, you've retracted your message. Maybe you thought you were far off. But yeah, I did see it. He can play CDM, but it's more like he's playing it quite loose, because if ever he's playing CDM, he'll usually be going forward quite a bit, and but still providing Rodri with that extra bit of support that he probably needs. Sorry guys, just putting this on my Instagram. Just one moment. Anyways, back to it. So, anyway, Manchester United, Mason Mount from Chelsea for 60 million, Sofania Amrabat from Fiorentina on a loan, Andre Onana for 47 million, Rasmus Højlund from Atalanta for 72 million, Altay Bayindir from Fenerbahce, 4.3 million. I do know who Fenerbahce are, by the way, I just struggle saying their name. 4.3 million, Reguilon and Johnny Evans as well. Reguilon from Tottenham on a loan and Johnny Evans on a free. Strangest one there. What do you guys think to Man United's window? Because it's definitely strange, because how do I put this? United needed a centre back. That was evident. They needed a centre back because they were fine with having Lissandro Martinez, Varane, Lindelof. They wanted to get rid of Maguire, but Maguire just didn't go. And so instead of being logical and signing a centre-back that would have been a big help for you, not necessarily someone that's going to set the world alight, but just someone, it could be a bit more senior, or they could be a bit younger, like Martinez. I know Martinez is like 25 or something, but just scout around. What United needed to do with Harry Maguire is they needed to make sure that he knew that he knew he was fifth choice. That's what they needed to do. But here's the thing, he's not fifth choice, because Johnny Evans isn't as good as Harry Maguire, as crazy as that might sound. Johnny Evans is worse than Harry Maguire, which makes Harry Maguire fourth choice, which means if someone gets injured in that usual back two, aka Raphael Varane, then Lindelof will go in for Raphael Varane, which we know that United are fine with. But that means that your options on the bench are Harry Maguire, who you want out of the club, and Johnny Evans from Leicester, who is in his mid-30s. I don't know whose idea it was to bring in Johnny Evans. I don't know why they did. But it was a very, very strange move. And, and when they came on against Arsenal, it suddenly started to all fall apart. So, I wonder what that tells you, But Johnny Evans, United needed a centre-back. They wanted Kim Min-jae, and they got Johnny Evans. They needed someone that was better than Harry Maguire and that would contest with that first team. Because Harry Maguire does not have a spot on it, but now he does because of injuries. Maguire does love United. Well, I imagine he loves his paycheck as well. But United don't want him. That's the problem. And, why? United don't want him. And he's not that good in my opinion. It's been evident. He makes, you only have to look at the season before Ten Hag joined to see how poor he was. That's all you've got to do. Look back at highlights and you'll see how poor he was. Because he was poor. United need to show ambition in this transfer window. I know they did make signings this summer. They spent almost 200 million in signings. I think Harry Maguire should have swiped at the opportunity of going to West Ham. I think West Ham would have really suited him. I won't lie. I don't think Harry Maguire is necessarily bad. Okay, I just don't think he suits Man United. He doesn't suit the system that Erik Ten Hag wants to play. But he needs to get out of there, Harry Maguire, for the sake of his own career. He was better at Leicester, and whether that was because he was going through a purple patch or maybe just coaching was better there. Either way, he was better at Leicester. He wasn't £80 million, but he was better. He needs to get out of Manchester United, whether it's the last thing he does, and he had an opportunity and he said no. It baffles me, but it is what it is. Because I think he would have suited West Ham. Harry Maguire, he suits the back three system. And for some reason he's persistent at staying at United, and they show no signs of doing a back three. They're too thin for a back three in centre backs. But anyway, Man United, it's been an okay transfer window, but they needed to spend more, let's be honest. If they want to be serious title contenders, they needed more than Rasmus Højlund, a striker. Rasmus Højlund, who didn't even get 20 goal contributions last season, and they spent 72 million on him. So they needed to show a bit more than that, didn't they? Harry Kane was meant to be a target. Apparently Ten Hag wanted both Harry Kane and Rasmus Højlund. I think that could have been great for Man United, but Man United have never shown any signs of spending that kind of money. They really haven't. I know they spend a lot of money, Man United, but they need to just spend it better. What do you guys think to Onana as well? Because he's having a strange start to the season. It's been a very strange start for Onana. It's been his dream start by any means, He's clearly had a bit of struggle. Struggling away from home, but the whole United squad is, and got beat at his near post by Declan Rice against Arsenal in the last minutes. I know the near post, it was a dodgy shot because it took a deflection, but anyway, summer transfer window, back to it. United also lost Anthony Elanga for about 15 mil, Dean Henderson, Zidane Iqbal, Alex Tellez for I think it was 8 million or less, Charlie Savage to Reading, De Gea, Phil Jones, Twan Zebe, Fred for 12 mil. Mason Greenwood on loan. So, now then, we'll go to Newcastle now because they've had an interesting summer. Arsenal, William. I'm not going to try saying the second bit of your name because I have no idea how. But if you want to hear Arsenal spending, I'll go back to the top of this list I've got here. They spent, oh, come on. Gotta be almost there. There we go. Made 4 signings and they signed Rice, Timber and Kai Havertz and David Raya. I question the fact that they spent 65 million on Kai Havertz, someone who flopped at Chelsea, let's be honest. He was okay at best at Chelsea, and he'll live off, his Chelsea legacy will live off the goal he scored against City in the Champions League final. So, when it comes to Kai Havertz, I don't know why they spent so much money on him. It's why Real Madrid pulled out. But the thing is, Arsenal have clearly seen something in. It's clear that teams are seeing something in Kai Havertz because Real Madrid also wanted him. You know, I question Arsenal, but Real Madrid, they're a big team and they usually spend quite well. We don't talk about Eden Hazard and a couple signings here and there, but they usually tend to spend well. But Kai Havertz for 65 million, they clearly knew that that was not a good deal for them. And so they pulled out. But Arsenal really wanted him. I take it you're a Arsenal fan, William. I don't know what to think about Kai Havertz, if you want the truth. I think Arsenal have had a good window. But I'm on the fence with Kai Havertz because I think David Raya, Declan Rice and Timber are good signings, but I don't know about David Raya as well actually because he's too good to be backup. If you want the truth, he's way too good for that, and if he thinks he's fine with being backup, then I'd really question him. If you want the truth, I'd really be concerned for why David Raya would settle for second best, a keeper of his quality, you know. Especially since he'll probably be joining on a permanent next season, you know. It curiouses me. Yeah, I'm really worried about Kai Havertz for Arsenal. I'm not too bothered because I'm a City fan, and you know the more bad players Arsenal get, the better it is for us. I'm not going to say Kai Havertz's going to be bad, but I just don't have a lot of faith in that transfer. If it works out, then it works out. And clearly teams see something in him because big teams are looking at him, including Real Madrid and Arsenal. So, you know, we'll get back onto the Premier League clubs because we haven't even gone through all of them, so there's so many signings. Newcastle. Harvey Barnes from Leicester for 40 million, or roundabouts. Tonali from AC Milan, 55 million. Livramento from Southampton for 32 million. Lewis Hall from Chelsea on a loan. I think they got like a 35 million buy option. And that's really it for Newcastle. And they got Heffernan from AC Milan on a free. Travis Hernandez undisclosed. And Minte from Bold Club undisclosed as well. So they made really 4 big signings. I think on paper I don't think that's that bad. Because Kieran Trippier, he's like 33, 32 now, isn't he? In that area. They signed Tino Livramento as a right back and, you know, could be the one to replace Trippier, because Trippier's not going to be around forever. Sandro Tonali, one of the best midfielders in the world, arguably, and definitely one of the best CDMs in the world. You know, who's rated highly at AC Milan, so Newcastle goes swipe him up. Harvey Barnes was a big player for Leicester, but Leicester obviously got the drop, and so teams swiped in on their big players like Tielemans, Maddison and Harvey Barnes. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Weiss and William. Grealish flopped, says William. I think Grealish had a disappointing first season, and I think for half of last season he wasn't that good either. But I think he's been on the up recently, and I think that's only going to get better. That's my personal opinion on Grealish. I thought he showed signs in his first 2 seasons, or his first 1.5 season, but I think now it's starting to come into flow a bit more. Thank you all for tuning in there. I'm very interested in all your opinions. I'm very curious about Kai Havertz, William. And he says, good luck, lad. I don't know if you're telling me good luck, William. If you are, then cheers. But if you're saying good luck to someone else. He is getting better, Grealish is. He's slowly on the up. And, I'd rather him be slowly on the up than staying at the same level he was in his first season. And thank you, always, for tuning in as well. Feel free to ask any questions on the Premier League clubs and their windows. So tell me what you think about Newcastle's window, guys, because they obviously bought in some relatively big names. I'm sure most of us know the 4 names that have been bought in, especially 1 or 2 of them. Saint Maximin from Al Ahly for 20. He went to Al Ahly for 23 mil. Chris Wood to Nottingham Forest. Longstaff was released. Ryan Fraser to Southampton on loan. Darlow to Leeds. Not really much to cover. Now then, Nottingham Forest. Surprisingly, relatively big spenders. They brought in a good few people. Didn't they bring in 18 people last season? So maybe not as surprising as I thought, to be honest. But Andrew Ombamdeli and Norwich City for 11.5 million. Sangare from PSV, 30 million. Origi from AC Milan on loan. Montiel from Seville on loan. Alanga for 15 million from United. Chris Wood from Newcastle, who we just covered. Norcat from United for free. Aina from Torino free. Matt Turner from Arsenal, 10 million. Santos from Chelsea, loan. Murillo from Corinthians, 13.7 million. Tavares from Arsenal, loan. Dominguez, Bologna, it was a swap deal. Callum Hudson-Odoi for 5 million. And Vlachodimos from Benfica. So they've signed quite a few people, Nottingham Forest. I don't think it's been the worst business in the world. I think that's some decent business. They brought in some decent names. Anthony Alanga was spoken about a lot in the season. Ralph Rangnick went in charge after Ollie. So Anthony Alanga has been spoken about a lot in the past. Was hardly a part of it last season, although he was a part of it more than some people thought he would be. Chris Wood was obviously former Burnley striker, went to Newcastle, and now he's at Nottingham. So I guess it's alright. It's like 1 goal he scored. His first goal for Nottingham Forest last season had to be against City, which made it a draw. It was absolutely crazy. They've signed 2 goalkeepers from what I can tell, in Matt Turner and Vlachodimos from Benfica. So clearly going for a bit of an overhaul in that area. And I really do think Nottingham Forest, I think survival for Nottingham Forest last season was so important, because I think Steve Cooper's a good manager. I think he really is, and I think he knew that the signings he was making last season, it almost looked ridiculous. You know, he made like 18 signings, but I think his whole thing was it's going to be difficult in that first season, but if they can get through that first season, then they can really start to do something, and I really do think they're going to do something this season. You think top 10 this season? I haven't predicted top 10, but I'm on like that 13th to 11th region, you know, 14th to 11th, that kind of area. So, you know, I think Nottingham Forest are fully safe this season. Nothing to worry about. Let's get a drink. Yeah, last season, and they got Navas on loan. Anyone know what's happened to Keylor Navas now? You know, Keylor Navas just vanished for me. Like, where is Keylor Navas? Let me search that up. Is he back at PSG? Yeah, he's back at PSG. Sorry about the noise. I think Navas is a good keeper, still. He's turning 37 this year, so he's getting on a little bit. But yeah, he just seems to be back at PSG to rot on the bench. No one's really talk about when it comes to people leaving. Obviously that Jesse Lingard go, what a flop he was. Jesse Lingard should have taken that move to Man United last season, no, to West Ham. Not last season, but the season before. It would have changed him. It really would have. It would have changed his career, but instead he sat on the bench for United and did nothing. And then joined Nottingham Forest and basically did the same. I think Navas should get out of PSG. I don't think like he's not loan level. No, he's not. He's not this kind of. He shouldn't be on the bench, you know. He should be a first team keeper. You know? Joined Real Madrid when he was 27, you know. I think that you should try to get a move. Although I do think if he was to move now, he'd just end up in Saudi. So now then, onto a club that I genuinely believe has had a really, really good transfer window and might have the best transfer window. Tottenham. I think they've had an incredible window. Here's why. Dejan Kulusevski, 25 million. Last season it wasn't it for him, but the season before when he came on loan in January, there was something in him. And I think there's still something in him. You know, I'm a fan of Dejan Kulusevski, you know. James Maddison, I think he's a great player. I think he was probably Leicester's best player, definitely last season, but I think basically overall he was as well. Vicario from Empoli for 17 million, not gonna lie, never heard of him. Solomon from Shakhtar on a free, decent backup option. Pedro Porro for 39 million, decent right back. he's got potential to be pretty good. We'll see how it goes on that regard. Mickey van der Vaart, a centre-back a lot of teams were eyeing up last season. And they've gotten him. Brennan Johnson for 47.5 million. I think that's great business. I think Brennan Johnson's so good. I actually really do. I think that he's got so much in his locker. And I think he'd do so good at this kind of level, going to the Champions League. I really, really do. And I hope I'm right, 'cause I really do believe in Brennan Johnson because I like him. I like Brennan Johnson. Yeah, Navas just needs to. Navas doesn't belong on the bench, He needs to get a bigger move. Well, not a bigger move, but a move that makes him first team keeper. Unless he loves being on the bench for PSG. I mean, sure, he's earning money for doing nothing, but how long is his contract with PSG? Because honestly, it's going on for a while now. He's been there for a good 3 years, and they signed him when he was 33. So very curious about Navas. I'm very curious to see how that will go. So I think he deserves a move elsewhere. But they lost Harry Kane, Tottenham did, for 100 mil. Harry Winks for 10 mil. Reguilon on loan to United. Tanganga on loan to Osberg. Jed Spence, what a waste of a signing that was last season. You signed someone that had a really good year in the Championship, and a lot of teams are eyeing him up. You basically didn't let him play a minute. You sent him on loan to Rennes, let him come back, and then you sent him on loan to Leeds. I reckon that's his career destroyed. If you want the truth, Jed Spence. I don't think there's much in him now. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, I think Spurs have had a good window in terms of who they've bought in, because they've bought in fresher options as centre back. So I think they've had a decent window. Now then, another team that I think's had a really good window, mainly because of one big thing that happened. West Ham. I think the signings they made to replace Declan Rice were just so good. I really do. Ward-Prowse, 30 million. Great signing. He's a great player, Ward-Prowse. He's brilliant on set pieces. Edson Alvarez from Ajax, 35 million. A lot of teams are eyeing him up this summer and keeping an eye on him. And West Ham were the team that got him. Mohamed Kudus from Ajax, 38 million. Another good player. Put that on top of Paqueta as well. Paqueta is a good player, and I'm not surprised City wanted him. Put that on Kudus. It's a great midfield. All because Declan Rice left. Scamacca for 27 million to Atalanta. Declan Rice to Arsenal for 105 million. Lanzini to River Plate for free. That's really it for West Ham, and Vlasic to Torino for 11 million. Oh. Now then, Wolves didn't sign too many people. They got Traore from Metz for 9.5 mil, Doherty for free, King from Northampton for free, Bueno from Girona for 10 mil, Tommy Doyle from loan for loan from City. So on that, it was worth it. What are you talking about? West Ham selling Rice and bringing in those midfielders, because if you're saying that, then I agree with you. I think it really was worth it. I think they brought in great talent. I think they've brought in like so many. I think they've really made that midfield incredible. But I don't think Wolves have had a very good window. I think they've had one of the worst windows, if you want the truth, alongside like Everton. I think they're definitely in that conversation. It's like, number one, I've only heard of Tommy Doyle on this list of who they've brought in. It's starting to rain now, guys. Hopefully this isn't going to be too bad, but it's not sounding that way. I've never heard of any of these players, apart from Traore and Tommy Doyle. Never heard of them. You know, you need to bring in some decent names, Wolves, and you know they've lost Nunes, they lost Guedes, they lost Connor Cody, they lost Nathan Collins, they lost Raul Jimenez, they lost Ruben Neves. They brought in a lot of money this summer. Like, they brought in almost 140 million. You know, they brought in a lot of money. But they just didn't sign anyone with it. When it came to signings with money, they spent less than 20 mil. And they bought in over 100 mil. So, yeah, I really do question Wolves' business. I think Wolves, me personally, I think Wolves have had the worst summer transfer window. You know, that's why I was kind of agreeing with Everton, because Everton are down there as well. They're bottom three for me. Yeah, you're spot on, Ali, though. Wolves and Everton had such bad windows, but I think at least Everton, they brought in quality in some of the areas that they needed it. Like, I think Danjuma's good, and I think Beto looks decent. Never heard of Beto before he joined, but I think he looks decent from what I've seen of him. Those two, they needed a striker, and they needed someone like Danjuma. They brought in those two, but they needed a lot more as well. Ashley Young is not an inspiring signing. So I just think that those two. I think at least Everton did a little bit more, which is why I've put Wolves lower than them when it comes to summer signings. You know, they let Neves go and they let Nunes go. I know Nunes was very last minute, but just between those two alone, they bought in 100 mil. You could have at least bought a midfielder with the Neves money and another midfielder with the Nunes money. Look at what West Ham did. You could have done that. If you're Wolves, you could have done that. You know? Instead, you bought in Doherty on a free and Tommy Doyle on loan. So for my personal opinion on I just don't think Wolves spent that much money this summer. When it comes to actual permanent signings, they spent under 20 million. Well, according to this, there's a couple of undisclosed fees. There's 2 undisclosed fees, but that probably means those fees ain't even that big either. They're probably no more than 20 million as well. I think Wolves have had the worst transfer window, and I think Everton are not far behind. And let me have a look at who else we've got. Because here's the thing, I don't really count new teams coming up when it comes to having windows, unless they bring in like no one. Since how Bournemouth didn't last season, they bought like no one in the transfer window. Although I'm gonna say that I'm going to basically take back what I just said. I think Luton had a terrible window. They bought in 20 million worth of players. That's shocking. That really is shocking. Coming up as Luton Town, you needed to make some big signings. You didn't. You really didn't. You need to splash a bit of the cash. I know Luton might not be the biggest club in the world, but when you come up to the Premier League, you are given a bit of money. You just are. You know, I know Burnley are a bit richer, but they spent over 90 million. Sheffield United, again, I know they've been in the Premier League a bit more recent than Luton have. They spent over 40 million. So, in my opinion, Everton, Wolves, Everton. Now, this is my bottom three for transfer windows. Luton at the bottom. No, Wolves at the bottom, because they had the money. Then Luton, because they had some money and they just used like a smidge of it. And then Everton. Those are my bottom three when it comes to transfer windows, in that order. So bottom being Wolves, Everton being best of the bottom, you know. But now we'll jump on to best transfer windows, and I'm gonna just get this over and done with real quick. It's actually a bit closer than that, because my top three, in no particular order at the moment, are City, Liverpool. Man, I'm really conflicted now. So I think West Ham had a great window, but I also think Spurs had a really good window. Let me go back over Spurs and West Ham's windows, because they were both great. Tottenham, yeah, they were some good signings. West Ham. Okay, yeah. I'm going to say Tottenham over West Ham for transfer windows, because I think West Ham had a really good window, but I think they needed some sort of striker that isn't Antonio. I think Scamacca could have used replacing. Yeah, West Ham are fourth for me, and I think Spurs are third. I'm going to be biased, and I'm going to say City had the best window, because I think we made the smartest signings. It's not always about the quantity that you make. I think it's about the intelligence that goes into them too. You know, it's good and all, you know, like Chelsea, they spend all this money, and, you know, how much of it's actually going to work out? It's a question. So for me, top three, City first, Liverpool second, Tottenham third, and then I know it's a top three, but West Ham just fourth. You know, so that's my ranking. I'm not going to rank everyone's window. But I've done my bottom three, I've done my top three. Leave any suggestions you want for videos over the international break. Yeah, I think I you know, I can compromise with that. I think I can agree with that. Tied third, for those two. I think they are really close. I'll tie them third, like you are. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this stream. Obviously, Ali, though you've been here the whole time basically, so, you know, cheers for that. I'm gonna be live later again. Leave any suggestions you want for content in the community post. I will check them out. I'm checking them out actively just in case. So leave any content ideas, because it's going to be a struggle over this international break for me, because like, I have no idea what I'm going to speak about. You know, no more transfer window, no more Premier League football. Saturday we've got the Sidemen charity match, live watch along, just for a bit of fun, you know, just to chill and mess about, you know. Yeah, thank you, Ali, though. It's been great to have you here. At the moment, you know, your support's been absolutely non-stop. You've been basically tuning in for my streams the whole way through, and I can only thank you for it. You know, big thank you to you, Ali, though. You've been here for a while. But guys, thank you all for watching, whether you're watching it back or you're watching it now. Your support's crazy, you know, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. And keep an eye out though for later, because there will be one. Thank you for watching. See you all in the next one.